Welcome. So today I want to talk a little bit more about the use of mindfulness in managing judgments and just why it's so important to really stick with this skill. So traditionally in psychotherapy through the 70s and early 80s, there was a movement called cognitive therapy, which was very much focused on changing our thoughts, which then changed our behaviors and our emotions. And so in that model, there's the cognitive triangle. You have your thoughts, you have your emotions, and you have your behaviors. And if you change any one of the three, it changes the other two. And the most of the techniques involved in it were about changing thoughts. So you would either use to stop your thoughts. You could use distraction techniques, and you could also use replacement thoughts. So, like if you had a negative self thought, you would replace it with a more positive one. Now, if you notice in there, those are both judgments. Now, mindfulness, on the other hand, is essentially slowing down the stream or focusing the stream. So, we know as humans, part of our job is to think, and the thinking is meant to help us survive. And so we will always think. And the thing is, our thoughts are so often outside of our control. And there's only a few of them that we can actually manage. So if you recall, there's this old saying about short-term memory. A short-term memory can hold 5 plus or minus 2 things, so 3 to 7 short-term thoughts. And we also know if we're particularly stressed or worried or anxious, it's always on the low end. It's probably just one thing. So the idea is to decrease our stress and anxiety by helping our thoughts stay focused on a topic. Mindfulness keeps us on that topic, and if you imagine our thoughts are like a stream or a river, thought stopping would be like putting in a dam. Changing your thoughts would be like changing it from water to something else. Mindfulness is just trying to notice what's going on with the water and not really trying to do much of anything. Because a different way you could think about this is imagine how muscles grow. If you push on a muscle and it pushes back, it will necessarily get stronger. And then that behavior that goes along with it will be conditioned and strengthened. So the more you do it, the more it will continue to come along. So a thought, the more that you have a thought, the stronger the conditioning is, and the more likely it's going to happen. If you dam a river, the water still has to go somewhere. It'll back up and eventually overflow, right? So thoughts and emotions are like that. So the idea with mindfulness is you just watch the water go by. You don't add anything to it. You don't make it stronger by pushing against it, because the nature of thoughts is that is going to happen. So you allow it to be there. The skill of watching judgments and being able to identify judgments is pretty straightforward. If you are a quote good person, therefore you could do something to make yourself into a bad person, right? So there's always this possibility of something bad coming out of a judgment. If something isn't judged, then there's no bad outcome. So you might think to yourself, okay, I'm living in Missouri. Missouri's a great place to live, or Missouri's a terrible place to live. And you might think either of these things. Missouri's a great place to live because the cost of living is low and has all 4 seasons, and you don't have to deal with hurricanes, and you don't have to really deal with, 6 months of snow. So it's a great place to live. Or Missouri's a terrible place to live because it gets cold in the winter, and it's far away from the beach, and whatever. And really, if you look at either of those, it can always become bad. So by noticing the judgments and just kind of being with what is and experiencing what is, it'll decrease the tension that kind of goes along with it. So hopefully that's helpful.